Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. This is our first conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about Niche's president and team talking priorities and progress. We are joined by the incoming president of Niche, Albert Vaughn. Also with us is the director of the Institute for Social and Cultural Research, no stranger to you guys, Rolando Cocom, and the director of the Museum of Belize and House of Culture, Ilona Smiling. Ilona Smiling. I'm sorry, that L looked like an I. But guys, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back. It is a pleasure having you guys here this morning. Lots to talk about where culture is concerned and the work of Niche even. I want to congratulate Mr. Vaughn for your new appointment. I know this is a big deal. It has been stirring up quite some conversation as well. So perhaps I can get an immediate reaction from you, what this means to you to be appointed as president.
Good morning, in particular to your viewers out there. I would like to first start off by saying thanks to the Minister of Culture who have the confidence and in me to lead this team. No? I would like to also say thanks to my team. I have an excellent team. There are 4 institutes and there are 4 excellent leaders in those institutes. To me, culture, the niche itself, as I say, is something that is very dear to the Minister of Culture, if you know Honorable Francis. And so, being selected or chosen to lead this team as the president, it is exciting. It is not a new work because we have been working since 2021 with the same team, with the same ministry. Going forward would mean that I would need to collaborate more with my team in specific to get the message out, to get people aware of what niche is and what niche represent. And so it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to jump up and down, and because I know there are a lot of work. But what comfort me is that everybody is so passionate in their work at niche, and so I look forward to work with everybody to enhance what they are doing, right? To make sure that they are part of whatever result come out of what niche is bringing out here to the public.
Well, what's worthy of mentioning is really what you just identified. You have been involved in the work of Niche previously as well, as far back as 2021, and so this is no new feat, I guess I should say, for you. Perhaps just the role in general is new. But you also mentioned that you wanted you guys, the public, to be abreast with the work of Niche. And bringing along members of your team, I think, speaks to that as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
Perhaps we can include in the conversation now Ms. Smiling and Mr. Cocom as well, which really encompasses just a portion of what the Niche represents as well. Let's begin with you, Ms. Smiling. We've had you on the couch before, representing the Museum of Belize and the House of Cultures. How does your work impact the overall vision and mission of Niche?
Well, you know, the museum's main role is to do the exhibitions of the items that we have. You know, we have 4 different departments, and the museum is where everything kind of intersects together. So we have like the research that is done by ISCR that helps to support the exhibits that we do. We have the artifacts that IA collects, and then we exhibit them at the museum. So yeah, the museum just really sits in the middle of everything, trying to help everyone, exhibiting, documenting, preserving, you know, our culture and history.
What I really love about your work is that a lot of the behind the scenes work that is probably getting done from the ISCR is presented through a curated experience from the Museum of Belize. And so you kind of see the finished work, I want to believe, from the Museum of Belize and perhaps the House of Cultures, but still very important what you do as well, because I imagine you're also involved in the research too.
Yes, I mean, I've always said this, sometimes we have a tendency to underestimate the work that goes into exhibitions.
Yes.
So while we do get the information from ISCR, we get the objects from IA, at the museum we still have to create the narrative and the story behind the theme that we want to present and exhibit to our audience. So it takes months of preparations, or sometimes we only have a couple weeks to do everything. get the display cases, the posters, the graphic design, the curation, the narration, everything.
Yeah.
And it's always a wonderful conversations to have within the departments, because sometimes there's like a huge file, huge research done, and we get into these back and forths about what needs to be on paper, what needs to be left out. And sometimes, everybody wants everything there, and I have to be like, oh no, we can only put so much out. So I always welcome those conversations. It's always interesting. I find it hilarious to hear what the different directors want within the exhibit. So we at the museum, we have that challenge of deciphering what needs to be said and what gets exhibited.
Well, we have a colleague who's very involved in the work of ISCR, and she's also very passionate. So I completely understand. I have a good idea where that passion comes from. But we're also joined by Mr. Kakam, who leads that team as well. And so he is actively involved in the research and hoping, to share that and disseminate that to the public as well. Mr. Kakam, how does your role and your work tie in with what is niche?
Yeah, good morning to all the audiences that are tuning in, and let me join you in congratulating President Vaughan on this position. I have known Mr. Vaughan over the past few years, and I can attest that this new responsibility that he has been given will be well executed. He's somebody that is very astute. He knows what needs to get done. He's able to confide in us as directors that we have the leadership ability to carry out our mandate, and I think that is an important aspect that a president should have, the ability to trust that the managers and that the staff really can perform the work that they have set out to do, and that we have the tools and the resources. I think very important, and I've seen that investment from him in terms of his advocacy as a board member and now as a president. I think that's something that we are looking forward to as directors, and I'm very pleased that the minister has chosen a president. As you know, it's a position that was vacant, and I think it signals, in my view, that we are now at a stage of more preparedness to execute the niche goals in its entirety, in a sense of like one team, because obviously there are some people who think of niche as separate from its divisions, and I think what Mr. Van said at the start is that we are one team. The team at MOB, the team at the HOCs, we are the ones that make up niche, and I think we have a very important goal to accomplish, and I think the Minister of Culture is very keen on making sure that we have the full support and the full capacity within the institutional responsibility now with the president to carry out our mandate. So I'm just very, very pleased about this. And then secondly, to your question about how do we fit in and our specific roles, there are several dimensions to the work of ISCR, as there is with the different divisions. But if I could remain very relevant to what is on the pipeline right now, this week, for instance, we are hosting a workshop gathering in Dangriga, the House of Culture there. Again, managed under Director Luona, and we are partnering with the community residents to talk about the Food Heritage Project, which I don't know if you were at the Wine and Cheese event that President Vaughan just pulled off with us, but that was an excellent interaction even for us in the Food Heritage Project, because we brought out some of our community knowledge bearers, as we like to call them, people who know how to cook the traditional lancha in that case, which is traditionally fish covered in the wala leaf and then seasoned with Santa Maria herb, and for many persons who interacted with us at the Wine and Cheese event, that was their first time that they, one, heard of lancha, and then secondly, tasted it. And so we had a great time there, and we have a very excellent team as well on the division of ISCR, and so there was great interaction, and we are now planning to do a more in-depth training with some of the residents in Dangriga, and coming up next month we'll be in Corozal again. The goal is to let people know traditional food, heritage food has tremendous value for our well-being, in terms of nutrition, but also in terms of our social well-being. And it is important that we document these food that we advocate that these food be present more and more in, like, the education system, or also in the tourism sector. It's not just burgers, and burgers are good, but there's a lot more that Belize can offer to the tourists, both local and international. So those are some of the new work that we have in our pipeline. And I think, if I could mention just another one, we also have a very strong collaboration at the moment within the Caribbean and within Central America. Minister being both Minister of Culture and Foreign Affairs, that has become very important to Niche's mandate, that we use culture as a sphere of dialogue, of diplomacy, of building regionalism. And next week we'll be hosting some colleagues from Central America to discuss the importance of living heritage, especially for African descendants of the region. And so we will be hosting that gathering again at the Belize City House of Culture. So you can see how important these dynamics are, especially between ISCR and the Museum of Belize and the Houses of Culture, as spaces where people can come to gather, to interact, to share their stories, their artifacts, and also their creative expressions, their dance, their music, and so on. And so I'm very pleased that we are now at this stage of reigniting some of these other aspects of our work and giving greater visibility. I must say, President Van, one of the first meeting that he has called for us was a communication strategy meeting, where we're already outlining how is it that we're going to tell our stories better. And so those are some of the things that I think we can expect into 2026.
Speaking about telling stories, President Vaughan, how important is the work that Niche does in defining cultural and national identity for Belize?
Well, I think Director Kokom had said a lot on that line a while ago. We get the project them out there, and what we want to do is to get Belizean to capture what we are doing. He spoke about the wine night we had, where we brought out the 4 institute. People were amazed. First time some people from Belize City have seen what ISCR have put out there. We have other institute like the IA. They are doing a whole lot of other works where we are trying to bring the site up to a standard Belizean can say, listen, yes, this is part of me. This is the culture of us. You understand me? So that is in line with what we want to achieve. What you're asking me, we want people to understand that don't just pass what we call the old government house. There are a legacy of information in there, right? It's for the people of Belize, so they can pass, stop there, take their camera, goes in there, get the information, connect, and say what this house is about, right? Where Director Smiling is, where the old jail is. Belize, some Belizeans pass there and they see the Museum of Belize, but they don't understand what is in there. So to answer your question, that is what we want to do. We want to give ownership. We want Belizeans to understand this us culture.
Miss Smiling, what I'm also hearing is that the work in a whole has a lot to do with preserving. It has a lot to do with defining, and it also has a lot to do with exposing. Is that fair to say?
No, that is completely fair to say. I think one of the biggest priorities that all institutions under Niche is trying to accomplish under Director Vaughan's leadership now would be to ensure that everybody knows that all 4 institutions are available and accessible to them. So then that means we as the institute directors need to ensure that whatever it is that we have within our institute is being made available and accessible. So one of the things that I know we are trying to do at the museum is trying to create more of a more accessible way to research what we have within our museum. One of the biggest things that I've been pushing is for more conservation of the works that we house within the museum. Most museums, they have a conservation space where you can come, do your research, and get the information you need on that object. And while we have just been displaying it and using the information that we have from ISCR, now is the perfect opportunity to push beyond that, so that if you want additional information, we actually have a space for you. So that is one of the things that we have been working closely with the president to try and establish at the museum. You know, and also too, we are pushing out our membership program, which again gives you more accessibility to the museum, to be a part of us, to know that whatever you are investing within the museum, we are putting back to the programs and projects that we have been doing.
Yeah, I think anybody that hasn't given themselves the chance to visit the museum, for example, don't know what they're missing out on. It's an
Yes.
amazing museum.
Yes.
When I just walking through the museum, I learn a lot.
Yeah.
Personally, about our history, about our heritage, where we come from. And it's not only the stories, it's also the artifacts that are in there. You go upstairs, you see the paintings, and it's just captivating. You see the with the birds, what do you call the thing?
Taxidermy.
Taxidermy.
Yes.
That word slipped me. And it just exposes you to a whole new world outside of what you see in the day-to-day life. And when I think about the work you all do, Mr. Kokom, I learned, just as one example, a lot about Ibotong, for example, and the existence of that area. So every time I drive through that area, it brings a whole new meaning to the historical value of just that small community and space, and even the churches that are around there, and how historically important those landmarks were to that area because of the work you all do. So I get cool see that now, because I'm saying the work goes beyond just the information, it's actually impactful on the ground.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It reminds me of, again, just what the minister has said and what is going to guide our communications for this year is that culture is who and what we are, right? And so all of our lived experiences can be connected to our history and to our heritage. And the role of niche through its various divisions is now to make sure that Belizeans can connect to that more and more. It does require, as has been said, requires significant research, it requires significant investment. And it won't change overnight, you know, for all Belizeans to reach at the level where you're now at, Brother Paul, in terms of how important history is. But that is our goal, that is the focus, and it's a long-term goal of, as you mentioned, nation building and building this consciousness. And so I'm very pleased that you're able to already be at that stage, and we hope that more and more people, by reaching out to us on our various social media platform, or visiting our events, or partnering with us. You know, I always mention that there are so many partners of niche, people who through technical or financial support are carrying out the shared goals that we have. And there are also people who are even operating outside of niche who should be applauded in making sure that art and culture is happening in the most remote communities across this country.
Well, as we wind down this conversation, I want to bring it back to Mr. Vaughn and just get some final thoughts from you in terms of what are some immediate things that you want to see be put into effect under your leadership.
A lot of things. But one of the things I think we need to start on, and I think that has been some weakness, not only at niche, many other institutions, the infrastructure. The infrastructure is so important. I mean, it's coming on the scene in 2020, 21, when we look at the infrastructure, which, I mean, it's only for the strong heart. We have now put the Bliss, we have collaborated, put the Bliss now in a better position. The AC is now working, there is comfort in there, people are now using the Bliss. We can't, I mean, they say there are so much people who wants to use the Bliss, right? We have many other programs, right? I think we had Big Tune in the day, we're drawing some big artists. And, you know, we want to look at IA, we want to make those sites more accessible to Belizean. We're talking about electrifying those sites, right? We're starting that already with making the infrastructure there that Belizean can, you know. So important that we look at all of these sites. We're having at the what we call the old government house, which is the House of Culture, where we have MOBA. It's a new museum, and we're looking to put the music museum to the at the top. So that's where we want to strengthen. We want to collaborate with Ministry of Education when it comes to the Festival of the Arts, so we could get the Festival of the Arts far more advanced. So we want to move it from where it is. Not that it is bad, but we want. That's what we want to do at the end of our term. Our team wants to look back and say, listen, this is what we have accomplished. We have moved niche to the next standard. And we can do that if we don't have the support of the minister who support niche. I can't tell you how much. He is very when it comes to niche, he is very, very, very supportive and wants only the best that culture could be out there. So you listen to the two directors here, and this what you're getting from them is the team. If this team continue to be this strong, niche will get better. So the next move now is to look at the House of Cultures in Banquitas, the House of Culture in Cisse, where this week we are meeting in Punta Gorda, where we want to open a new House of Culture. So we met with the minister this week. Friday we're going to meet BTIA and we're going to have a conversation how to get that House of Culture open. So it's amazing. I mean, just to sit here, I will just go on and on and on. Yeah. What I want to do is to, just like what I am saying, have this opportunity where we can come on these shows and say to Belizean people, culture that you too, man.
Excellent.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been a wonderful conversation. At this time, we take another quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, our next conversation is the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust and how it started.